talking about afterbirth, so we're talking about fucking placenta and titty milk and shit, and you guys...
Do you know titty milk doesn't count as afterbirth, right?
Does in my book.
Do you have any idea how female body works?
Hey, Chris... Hello, Free Rotation Nation. Hope you've had a lovely week or start to your week. I am Bibby the Hare. I'm joined by that motherfucker, Chris.
Hola.
Our legal advisor, Becca.
Yay.
And the head honcho, our technical director, Angela.
Hola.
Today, we have a very spicy topic. We are talking about afterbirth, so placenta and the titty milk.
No, Bobby. It's the afterlife.
I watched all those breastfeeding videos for nothing.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Sorry, I can't hear anymore.
Sorry.
What are we talking about? The after echoes?
Afterbirth and placenta and titty milk, apparently.
Okay.
Full of the protein.
Are you also talking? I can't hear anything. Ma. Ma.
Sorry, there's an echo in my ear. All I hear is after.
Well, that's what I sound like when I'm coming, so...
Will somebody answer that phone?
It just sounds like Bobby aggressively yelling.
Yeah, but we're doing the whole afterlife thing. We're talking about the, what's considered an afterlife, the different kinds of afterlives.
What different cultures believe.
Yeah, I found the really weird ones. Cause
Oh.
I literally just typed in weirdest afterlives, and I was like, oh, these are fucking weird.
See, I didn't do that. I looked up, ancient religions and their afterlife.
One of them is ancient. Thank you very much. And one of them is Taoism.
Oh, okay.
The Taoism one's kind of wholesome.
Do you want to describe the Taoism one?
So is when you go to heaven in Taoism culture, you're like, it's almost like a dining room setup. It's like a long table, and you have these very, very, very elongated chopsticks. And obviously with those kind of chopsticks, you can't feed yourself, right? So what you do is you feed the person across from you with them. And the same thing with teacups. You have very long teacups. You can't drink.
This is their afterlife?
Yes, this is how it is. They eat and they drink and they have a good time.
Huh.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the episode. We're just done.
That sounds like a lot of work in the afterlife. I'm out.
It's wholesome. Like
Oh,
you feed the person across from you. I thought it was wholesome.
Well, here's what we could do. We could be describing the afterlives and then decide which one we would prefer to have.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
but
you go.
somebody would feed me some fucked up shit like shrimp or frog legs.
Well, it's heaven, or supposedly, so they wouldn't have that. It would be what you want. It's the food that you want in front of you.
So
I'd
they
imagine.
just have vagina?
Maybe like a cow tongue. That's like a vagina.
No, Bobby. I agree with Chris.
Again, this is Bobby's knowledge of the female anatomy. In case you were wondering how well he's doing.
We have, God, this is going to be a fucking mouthful to pronounce. Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism.
That's it. Yeah.
Well,
I like how
it's a
Bobby's
mouthful.
stumbling through it like an 8th grader.
I know. We're like
Zorro.
Zoroastrian.
Anyhoozle, theirs is about, they like bridges. And I don't know why it's a bridge, but it's a bridge. Okay, so you go to heaven. Or you're figuring out where you're going, to heaven or hell. Judgment is decreed by the individual's ability to cross the bridge of Chinvat. The account keeper, a St. Peter type person. Cross the bridge and you're in paradise, sitting on your golden stool in Mazda's House of Songs. Fall off and you're going to hell. Yeah, this is weird.
Well, yeah, because you fell off a fucking bridge.
Yeah. Well, there's a thing.
Oh.
The bridge, which is made by Mazda, which I assume is their almighty deity, is different for each person depending on how wholesome and wonderful they were. Lead a good life, the bridge is wide. Lead a bad one, and it's narrow. Covered, wobbly, covered in gross shit bugs.
Missing shit,
Yeah.
missing planks.
Yeah.
What do you think your bridge would look like?
Oh, God. It depends on their, it depends, and there's a little bit more going on with it, but this is why. And a part we thought was wonderful. If you leave a great life, you get a really attractive person to accompany you along the bridge to if you're good, to paradise. And if you're bad, your person's right. It's pretty much a demon at that point. Like, yeah, you're going to hell. Come on. And they're trying to pull you off the bridge at the same time.
Oh.
The wholesome one, the nice lady's like helping you along. Because the thought is, as you're crossing, it's the age you died. So if you died of old age, you're going to be kind of elderly. But once you get to heaven, You go to your like most happy part of your life, like what age you were.
Oh, that's actually kind of wholesome.
Yeah, see, not Bobby don't only find the fucked up shit.
Let's see how much you know about Zoroastrianism, Bobby. You ready?
I don't.
Did you know Zoroastrianism was the first monotheistic religion?
I knew it was really old. It was 1,000 years before Christ.
Do you know where it came from?
No.
Persia.
Ew.
Haters gonna hate. Potatoes gonna potate.
I played the video game.
Prince of Persia?
Yeah, that's an accurate description of your fucking race, right? He's reversing time and cutting people. Jake
Also-
Gyllenhaal's Persian. Did you know that?
Jake Gyllenhaal, the Prince of Persia.
Hey, he got tanned for that movie.
Yeah, listen, that movie got batted down real hard.
Yeah.
But I it's a good question. How do you think your bridge would look like? Like if you were like to, let's say you were to die today, okay? How do you think, as you lived your life, would your bridge look
Okay,
like?
question. Does my wholesomeness determine whether I go to church or not?
No, because it's a different religion.
Oh, then it'd be a reasonable bridge. It'd be like a nice bridge. It wouldn't be like fucking like gold inlay and that kind of stuff. But yeah, my bridge would be like decent, like a nice oak bridge.
Bobby said his bridge was gonna be nice, and suddenly everything went out, and I'm like, oh my god.
The demon said, "Hell no."
Hopefully, I'm escorted by a nice lady with a
Did you say squirted?
No, escorted.
Oh.
She'll be squirting later though. Hopefully, she's got nice short hair, tattoos, and piercings.
She's lesbian. Okay.
Not always. I've dated plenty of lesbians I have fucked one lesbian. But any hoozle. I have fucked plenty of women that are not lesbians. They're usually bi or pan. But,
Hashtag no gold star for her. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
my bridge would be like a rope bridge with like wooden planks. And it'd have like a nice old person trying to lead me there. But there'd be a second old person on the other side with like a handsaw trying to cut the ropes. So it'd be like a race against time.
Hey, but what happens if you're really old?
Yeah. I mean, whatever. That's how it's going to go. Like, it's going to
like
be like,
it's kind of a balance. Like,
yeah,
what
you're a decent
happened?
person, but maybe fuck you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like you got to kind of give yourself like a little bit of a credit for being a decent person, but really
Becky's.
it's all teetering on what like
Yep.
happens right now.
Do we get through this rope in time?
Becky, yours would be a sand bridge.
Oh, that's so mean.
No, it's wholesome. It's a
What
sand bridge.
would yours look like?
I think mine would be. I don't think I would have an unstable bridge. I think I'd have a relatively like nice bridge. I think like a glass bridge.
You'd have like an escalator. You don't do anything bad.
I don't really think I do. Okay, I yell at people, but I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's why it would be more like a really strong rope bridge. I think it would be kind of a rope. Maybe like one of those little like rope ones that you have to walk across
I
and
may be
balance.
biased because Becky has told me her inner desires, which includes killing someone to pull their guts out just to see what they feel and smell like.
But I haven't done that.
You haven't. You
Yeah.
haven't.
That doesn't mean I.
You can think about it all you
Well,
want.
that's
as
a
long
next
as you-
level of psychopathy I didn't even know existed. I think I think your bridge is like a slide straight down into whatever canyon's below you.
Yeah.
I would just like to state that I have never done anything to that extent, and I probably would not. It would be against like it'd be like Death Note. It'd be like a serial killer who
Yeah,
deserves it.
yeah.
It's like justice.
This one, in my own mind, justified homicide.
Yeah.
Where I play with their internal
Well,
organs.
I mean, if I really did want to do it, I would do. Like I would have done it by now.
keep telling me you're not a psychopath, crazy
It's-
pants.
It's like that TikTok.
Why you gotta call me out?
Because you're sitting there pretending that you're just an
I
angel.
just
And I was
said-
like, I know that. And I thought
Eh.
it was funny. I'm like, yeah. And Becky's like, no, seriously.
Okay,
if I
we
could
have
get away
all
with it.
we have all had psychopathic thought process.
No, I've never
Nope.
actually had that thought.
Oh, I have.
No.
Have you ever
Okay,
thought about
maybe
killing
my-
someone you like, but like you just like destroyed the thought real quick?
No.
No, mine is normally disliked people.
Oh, I should probably talk to that about my therapist.
I mean, literally, whenever I've thought about like
thought it was normal.
torturing and murder somebody, it was somebody who like got off for murder.
Now there's torture involved. It's not just quick murder.
No,
It's torture. Yes.
just beat him to death. That's what I've been thinking about.
So you told on yourself for that one.
I'm just gonna say a little rope bridge, a little bit of a rope bridge.
And I'm not saying her people used to stone people to death for a lot of shit. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
So did our people.
No, and
though.
I would like to
Not my
go
people.
back and kind of psychologically talk about the fact that you picked a glass bridge where you could look down at the people burning in hell.
Wow,
That
it's
would
kind
be-
of fucky.
Well, yeah, that'd be kind of fun to look at.
See?
Yeah, that
Be
is.
like, yeah, you guys suck. Hey, but it could break.
It probably would, apparently.
Yeah.
It would just start. There would just be a sudden hailstorm.
I
You
would-
see, tink, 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 tink.
Okay, but once again, just saying, I have never done any of these things.
No, you
Good.
haven't.
Good.
So
But I
if
think
we were to
part of how you live your life is how are you? What are your thoughts?
I can guess what Angie's bridge should look like.
Last
Probably
I
with-
checked,
Yeah.
you can't be convicted for a thought.
Yeah, in people terms. We're
You can be-
talking about,
Yeah, the afterlife, and he knows your thoughts.
You can
Well,
Mazda
we're
apparently
talking
is going
about
to drive you off the bridge.
Zoroastrianism, as Bobby says.
you're.
pictured Antonio Banderas.
I wouldn't mind him walking around a bridge. It'd be kind of nice. Like, hey man, how was it like being an actor and shit?
Okay,
Desperados
Angie,
getting
what do
murdered.
you think your bridge would look like?
It would be a covered bridge like on Beetlejuice, and it would be super dark inside, and it would be like I would have to put my hand on stuff to get by.
Like frogs.
No, just stuff.
No.
Like I wouldn't know what it was.
She couldn't see.
No.
Like that old story about the guy or the woman asked the man to hold her hand no matter what he felt, and he held her hand all through the night, and in the morning she would and she's screeching, and it was furry, and
Remember
you
those-
remember that?
I do.
Remember those times you told me that if I died, you would cut my nipple off and cook it?
I absolutely would, and I'd eat it. I own
So
that.
let's-
Oh.
You're dead. What do you care?
Yeah, but she's not murdering you to get to your nipple crazy
Yeah.
pants.
And the other nipple you put on a necklace, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
see, they're fine. It's wholesome.
Could I add the other one to my nipple belt?
No, there's only 2 nipples.
Oh.
Angie
you don't
eats
know.
one, and she.
You don't know my life.
Angie, how many nipples does Becky have?
She's 3.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, I totally have 3.
She's got a third one right there.
Hey yo.
It just constantly leaks.
Oh.
What is this
My
episode?
third nipple's just always lactating.
Listen, we haven't had like a crazy Zandy episode in a long time.
I know. We're
How
talking
it
about the
ties
afterlife.
into his afterbirth. Got it.
Placenta. So what?
So let's talk about other ancient religions. How about that? Okay, yeah, we're gonna move on. So the next one, the one I think everybody kind of knows about, is in ancient Egypt. You familiar with what they did?
Yeah, the whole weighing your fucking heart with a feather.
Yes. So
I
like,
pay attention in history
like
sometimes.
this is like one of the earliest known religions, and
Sure.
they're like recording of the afterlife. So going into like the Zoroastrianism thing, this is the next thing that's pretty much close to it. So when the body died, parts of its soul was known as a body double, or in its personality would go to the kingdom of the dead. And while the soul dwelt in the fields of Eru, Osiris demanded work as restitution for the protection he provided, and statues were placed in the tombs to serve as substitutes for the deceased. So basically, while you were waiting to get judged, you had to do some work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shitty.
It's called being a slave. What you're describing is called being a slave.
Well, I mean, to be
But
true.
Probably not like hard labor though. It's probably just like reasonable. No, not the slavery part. The part where they go into the afterlife.
They're in the desert. It's all hard labor.
Dude, I'm talking about when they're fucking away from the afterlife, not when they're in real life. That's different.
I mean, realistically, I assume they have to think the afterlife, if there's work to be done, is probably a facsimile of the real world they lived in.
Who knows? Maybe you're fucking farming clouds or something. I don't know.
Well, the next thing that you had to do once you reached your like time to be judged for your afterlife is you had to be required to show that you lived you had a sin-free heart, and the ability to cite spells, passwords, and formula out of the Book of the Dead. So you literally had to memorize the Book of the Dead before you died.
Fuck that. I don't want to
That's kind
study.
of cool though. Like you have to like
Yeah.
know all this stuff, and you've had to live a sin-free heart. So it's like you kind of see that there's like the similar pattern throughout religion where you have to live like a good life to make it to like heaven.
Well, that and also keeping the pathway to the good side of the afterlife hidden from the illiterate is a way to keep like slaves in their place.
Oh shit, that's a good take. I didn't think
Wow,
about
Becky,
that.
you're people.
This is Egypt.
Same
Close
thing.
enough.
It's in a different continent.
It's not that far. Compared to other countries in Africa, it's not. I'm sorry, I've been mean today. I'm sorry.
Are you saying compared to like South Africa, it's not that far? Because that's true.
Yeah, true.
But also, neither is China.
True. I think South Africa's farther though, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
So she's more likely to be Chinese.
Are you Chinese?
I don't know. Ask your mom. We all know each other.
Not the real one.
I don't know my real mom.
Anyway, speaking of living a sin-free heart,
Sorry.
It
I'm
also,
really
yeah,
sassy.
you were right. You had to. There was a feather that was measured against your heart, and if your heart was lighter than the feather, you would go into the. You would basically go to heaven, if
Yeah,
anything.
The third star in Orion.
Yeah, but if it was heavier, then you would be devoured by the demon Amit.
Yeah, the crocodile thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. There you go.
That's why you had part of like dying is that you believed at some point you would come back. So that's why mummification became so popular in ancient Egypt. And they would design like coffin symbols across your sarcophagus to ensure that you would have a guide during the challenges of being dead.
Right, because here's the thing, especially when pharaohs died, pharaohs are eternal. They're gods. So when the human part of you dies and you are, rich enough or important enough to get buried like this, then you're still alive and you care for the people of Egypt on the other side. That's why they sent you off with so much wealth and servants and food and your pets and cats.
Your chariots and your ships.
Right, because you are still alive and you're still caring for the people of Egypt.
Yeah, it was just basically to ensure that when you went through the ride through your afterlife, you would live, like you would at least live comfortably instead of going down a trials and tribulations that a lot of poorer people probably would go through.
And funny enough, like a little segue, this is how we know that King Tutankhamun's tomb isn't his, because it's had the incorrect hieroglyphics on it, the incorrect carvings, because all pharaohs had the wings on all four corners. But anyways,
It's Angie's watch.
I can't get it to shut up.
Okay, it's fine. But
I don't know.
yeah, that was a big thing. They talked about, like, even on the sarcophagus and inside their tombs, that's why curses were put on there, because if you disrupted their time while they were traveling through the afterlife, you would basically destroy their ability to come back.
I saw this. Brendan Fraser was in it.
Yeah, it's the
That's
Mummy.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And The Rock in one of them, I think. Which is confusing.
Tom Cruise was also in one, which that one doesn't count. But basically, like, the idea of the afterlife was just considered like a brief interruption, and it wasn't like the total cessation of life. And eternal life could be ensured by piety to the gods, preservation of the physical form, and provisions of funeral equipment and all of that stuff. So if you were really like a jackass to the gods, like that would weigh in against your favor in being able to travel through the afterlife.
What about just being a jackass? Sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I think jackass was also considered part of it, so you wouldn't make it probably.
Go ahead,
Well,
Angie. Sorry.
Anubis is a jackal god. So
That's why I thought it was funny.
well, okay. Also, the ancient Egyptians were the first with a resurrection story.
Yep.
And also the first that pretty much Christianity just said, hey, Horus and Anubis and Osiris, we're going to take your stories. And this is what Christianity is. So I'm like, all these things are the same thing. But you also had the death, the ritualistic death of a god and his rebirth. But unfortunately, he couldn't escape fully. So he's a god of the underworld. But
Right.
so it kind of mimics that. So in order to, he came back a more powerful version of himself. So also as you die in Egyptian burial rites, you come back more powerful because you've shed this part.
The
Your
earthly
mortal
form.
coil.
Yeah.
The
So
rest of us are just
As
slaves
I
to
shed
serve
this
them.
mortal coil and to the great beyond.
Just keep in mind also that your house cat was more important than you. So,
you'd be buried with it, though.
well, yeah.
They'd kill
Yeah.
your fucking cat when you died?
They
No,
They would
just put it in there with you.
They would bury. Yeah, they would bury your pets and your servants and your wives.
Time would make sure it was dead, but they didn't have to kill it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like Egypt anymore.
And if your cat died before you, like there was extensive mourning. You shaved your eyebrows. You mourned. You marked your door, and everybody was like, "I'm so sorry about your cat."
Cats were worshipped, dude.
No, I get that. I'm fine with like mourning, but I'm not shaving my fucking eyebrows and hair. Fuck that noise.
I mean, it grows back, unlike your cat. So
I mean,
I can get another cat and be
Yeah.
like, oh, that's still Jebediah. He didn't really die.
why are you calling your cat Jebediah?
Because I'm sure there were
Ancient
hillbilly
Egyptian-
Egyptians.
But they didn't call him Jebediah.
ancient Egyptian cats were named Jebediah.
Unfortunately, I don't speak ancient Egyptian.
Well, you're fucking up there.
So,
I just love that. That's just the funniest thing. What, like, just like having like cats like named Bast and Osiris. What's your cat's name? Jebediah.
I did kind of want to name my two Bast and Osiris or Bast and Anubis, but they already had names.
Well, they're Japanese kitty names, so
Yeah, and they know their names. You can't
Yeah.
change something's name when it knows its name.
I mean, Chris does call them Kiki Jiki, both of them.
and Cocainette.
Hey, no.
And you know what?
right.
When he called him Kiki Jiki,
He knows who I'm talking to.
yeah, Kikyo looked up and was like, meow.
To be fair, his real name is Kikyo. So Kiki Jiki's not that far off.
No,
And the other one's Pestermite.
maybe. I don't know. I'll ask him.
I think it's better than Deceiver Exarch for a cat. It'll roll off the tongue a little better.
Shieldred.
Yeah.
Liliana of the Veil.
So, Chris, what fucked up afterlife did you pick?
So I actually picked the Native Americans in North America. And as a whole, they don't really have a concept. And again, we have to look at this through historical lenses, and the people who were taking their accounts were overwhelmingly Christian, so they viewed everything they were told through that lens, through those eyes. But in general, most of and again, you're talking 500 different tribes of Native Americans in North America. There's not like one all-encompassing belief system. It's just not. But in general, they didn't really have a belief in a heaven or hell type thing. They believed that there was, they knew death existed, but they also didn't dwell on the fact that they were going to die, so they didn't really have like an afterlife horror story, like an underworld really, or a heaven. They thought that your relatives and all, when they died, went somewhere else, but as a general rule, they typically believed in reincarnation, but it wasn't constant reincarnation. Like, there were certain amounts of times you would come back, and they believed that before they came back in the spirit world, you could talk to your loved ones in different ways. Some believe that if you like rubbed your hands up and down the body of a recently deceased person, they could get a message. They could convey a message to you, to your loved ones. Some believe that if you burned the body of a recently deceased person, that was a way to communicate with the spirit world. But they didn't have a heaven or hell the way we think of it. They typically they thought that this world was like a way station, more or less, to the
This
next
was
world.
the purgatory.
Yeah, they thought there was something else, but they didn't really wonder too much about it because
It was the great mystery.
yeah, their mindset was that I'll figure that out when I'm done.
Right. You can't live your life questioning the next one.
Mm-hmm.
They did believe in, generally spirits, gods, demigods. They had most of their religious ceremonies were more nature based and to demigods than like an all encompassing one god or even polytheistic gods. It was mostly to what was present here.
Yeah, like the trees, the crops.
Yeah, and most of it
yeah.
was for good health and good crops because that's kind of what their life was led by. You're talking about and as a general rule, a nomadic people who followed whatever game food was around.
Mm-hmm.
You need good crops, you need good weather, you need good health.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't really. There was no real afterlife thought that way, as far as I can tell. Between any of them, and I researched a bunch of them. Even the First Nations people up in Canada didn't really have that heaven and hell duality. They thought there was more of an instant karma than a off-put, you're going to pay for this in the long run. They thought, hey, if you're a bad person, bad things will happen to you. Your enemies will come forth and slay you or whatever. But it wasn't like there's some all-knowing Christianic, Judaic father figure that's waiting to punish you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Theirs was more, you fuck up, bad's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of religions, especially I would say non-monotheistic religions that don't have a heaven or a hell. It's mostly like I'm thinking of like Buddhists and Shintoism. They believe more in the idea of karma and what you bring. And yes, you will reincarnate, but you may reincarnate as an angry ghost. Especially in Buddhism, they believe if you live in negative karma, you will be subjected to being a lowly animal or like an angry ghost. But it's all for the purpose of how you live your life at the time you're alive and not necessarily like what you're working for at the end of your life.
Well, what's cool is most of the native tribes that I was researching that believed in reincarnation in that fashion believed that as a freshly born child, you knew who you were before, and they would have ceremonies and try to figure out if you were one of somebody in there.
That's why they waited to name you.
Yeah, deceased like relatives, because they would bring things to you that person had loved, and see if you had any reaction to it. And they had rituals for this.
And sometimes they wouldn't even name a child until they were 5 or 6 because you didn't know your name yet.
Yeah, they
You had
really
to pick
thought,
your own fucking name.
No.
They were trying to figure out who you were.
Oh, beforehand. Yeah. Okay.
And there were some of the
Fair.
some of the native tribes that were here in America were once you died, your name was never spoken again. Mm-hmm. That was the end of your name because you were gone. So they would refer to you, but never by name ever again, and then no one else was allowed to have your name because that person is gone.
Right.
So it's a whole new entity or whatever, even if it's reincarnated as an animal. And they didn't really believe that you would come back as an animal. They thought you would always come back as a person, as a general rule. The animals could be reincarnated, and they'd come back as
Like
the
a
animals.
really smart
Yeah.
dog or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, because
So
they would identify it.
Yeah, and it's really cool because I got into the doing the research. I got deep into the Anasazi, which was basically the Pueblo Native Indians in the Four Corners region, Southwest, and I got into a lot of their rituals and cannibalism and where it came from and the roots of it, and it
Yeah.
got pretty deep.
So they're like the first of the first. And
Anasazi is a made-up word that we made up in like 1917 that just
Yeah.
means ancient ones because we don't know what their actual name
and the
was.
Native Americans, as we know them, were terrified. Like really told horror stories about them.
Wasn't that
Yeah,
also
they
the name of
fucking
the
ate
spider?
people. No,
Anasazi?
that's the Nazi, and that was in Africa.
But no, the Anasazi they're kind of like the Olmecs. Like, we have a name for them because we gave them a name.
Yeah,
we
but
don't really
actually know.
who they were. As a general rule, we're pretty sure that most of the Great Plains tribes came from there. The Hopi, the Shawnee, Blackfoot. But we have no idea who they were, short of doing the research into... And it's kind of a weird thing because a lot of the still around natives do not like the idea of cannibalism amongst their forebearers or forefathers or whatever. Because as a general rule, human beings are just anti-cannibalism.
Yeah.
But they would find in these Anasazi dwellings, they would find the bones that had been stripped of humans.
Yeah, teeth marks on the bones.
Long bones, so like your leg and arm bones that had been cracked to a point where they could fit into the Anasazi bowls and be cooked. They would find things that it's called pot polishing, where the bones have been stirred around in a pot for so long that all the edges are gone.
I don't like this.
They would find the skulls where the back of the head had been roasted, but not to the point where it would burn anything. And they're pretty sure they were just roasting the brains because they would then find the skull fragments that had been crushed up against an anvil rock so they could get the roasted brain out because brains are a really good source of a lot of different things.
Slurp, slurp.
And usually in bones, you can find marrow still.
Yeah.
Well, they
Marrows would be gone.
Yeah, they would. Well, that was probably their best source of fat.
Yeah.
So this was a whole big thing for a bunch of years where there were a few scientists that were like, there's a lot of evidence of cannibalism, and most of the current tribes were like, no, they did not
They
eat people.
really
Hated
dislike admitting it.
Well, and what's weird about that is they traced most of that style of cannibalism back to what's now the Mexico City. The natives that were there that we know had ritualistic murder or sacrifice, and then also cannibalism. But there was a huge uprising back in, like 200.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people from that, and basically what you call as a death cult, left. And they think they wandered up into the Pueblo areas and taught whatever natives were there or just took over.
Right. Because a lot of those stories talk about they came in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they think it may
Yeah.
have been a form of, not necessarily like torture, but like control. Because if you mess up, they're going to kill,
you.
Yeah.
butcher, cook, and then eat you. You're probably not going to fuck up too much. And the way they figured out it was probably the Mexican tribesmen that came up was the natives in Mexico of this whatever tribe used to sharpen and file their teeth. And they found those sharpened teeth in some of the burial plots for the Anasazi, but there are no other United States native tribes that would do that to their teeth. It was specifically a thing for this Mexico City tribe. So they're pretty sure they came up, taught them. Yeah.
And when this theory was first proposed, like you said, there was a huge outlash.
There still is.
So there was a couple of scientists who went and said, okay, you can prove through DNA.
They did.
They proved that this did happen.
Well, they actually, one of the things that was pretty cool was even after the bone fragments, they did tests with natural stone to see how you would butcher meat. Came out exactly the same as you would butcher a deer on these human femurs and thighs and brains. Even after they had that, even after they had the basically the bone smoothed or the pot smoothed bones, even after they had the roasted heads that had been cracked open on a rock to get whatever was in there out, they still were like, no. What eventually broke the mold was they found some coprolite, human poop, in one of the Anasazi dwellings and tested it for myoglobin. Myoglobin is a protein you can only get from eating another human being. Like it can't show up in your gut any other way.
Yeah.
And they tested it, and they did surprisingly like 64 separate tests to be sure. Mm-hmm. And every one of them was like people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, they were absolutely. Someone was absolutely eating people. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like,
Don't like it.
so here's the thing. It has been
bet.
shown cannibalism shows up on every continent on Earth.
Yeah.
Papua New Guinea, Africa, Europe, America. I mean, everywhere.
Antarctica?
There's not people, so I
You
mean,
said every continent.
I mean, as the ice melts, we may find cannibalism.
Sure, there probably
Like,
were something.
again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Pangea was a thing.
Yeah, well, that and we have maps that show
Yeah.
before it was icy, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's a natural human condition at some point or another, whether or not it's based on starvation or horror. Basically, no one knows because again, we don't even have the actual name of the Anasazi. That's what we've named them because we don't know that much about their
You
culture.
know what? If it was like, say, the apocalyptic times and Becky was starving and I knew I could save her life by killing some plump little whatever, yeah, she's gonna be eating good that night.
No.
I am.
I mean, I'd kill it, butcher and eat it. It's food.
I mean, that, and I get that. That's different. That's like extreme
Yeah,
circumstance. That's
I'm not gonna
different.
kill a cat or dog. I'll
well, you
kill
look
a
at the
person
Donner
and-
Party, which
Yeah.
horrified Americans forever, but that was also
Yeah.
they were going
They had to
die.
survive, and these people were dead. Come on.
Yeah, but, and again, we don't know if I mean you're talking about the Four Corners in the Southwest, and again, it's 1,000 years ago, but whatever. There may have been a severe drought.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been no game to kill. There may have been some sort of environmental change where they literally were starving, and they had to eat these people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They may have actually done it just to be like, oh, you fucked up making my grass, cutting my grass, dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and when you think about the Native Americans, when they gave thanks and to the animal they would kill because they were ingesting its spirit, could be something like that. Like, I'm gonna kill and eat you.
Yeah, I
and
mean-
I'm gonna take whatever you were into
Yeah,
me.
again, maybe I don't know.
We'll never know.
Unless we find a really well documented written clay tablet or something from the Anasazi, we'll never know. And it's the same thing we have with the Olmecs in South America. We have their buildings, we have their carvings, we have kind of a weird idea of their history based on other tribes that were around, but that's all we have.
You know, some people believe that the skinwalkers, they're the Anasazi.
Yeah.
Like
They're just not sure. And
Yeah.
again, it may have been, and it may be a situation where the Anasazi were just the natural natives that were there, and then this death cult from Mexico
or
came up and
natural
took over.
horrors. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they were.
We'll never know. All we know is that there were these tribes from Mexico that made it up there that also had these same kind of scenarios going on, and that it showed up in Southwest America.
Yeah.
That's kind of the extent of what we actually know. And again, I'm not saying this to be a dick or whatever, but cannibalism happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is.
It's just I feel uncomfortable with like willing.
Well,
like,
and it is kind of bad for you
Yeah.
to eat other people.
so we know that now, and a lot
they
of
wouldn't
it,
have known that then.
not only that, but I wonder if it's different now versus then, because now it's bad for you because of like all the preservatives and weird shit in our fat.
Yeah.
Versus back then, there wouldn't have been any of
Right.
that. It would have just been natural.
Delicious meat.
I mean, you think about it, like pork and chicken and stuff taste way different now than they did 200 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different thing. So maybe people are the same way. Maybe you wouldn't get with laughing sickness like you get from eating.
what's that?
It's what you get when you eat people for too long.
You start laughing too hard.
You just go crazy. It causes
Oh.
insanity, and it's called. I think it's called laughing sickness.
Like is it like anything? The
You get the
dancing one,
shakes
too?
and you laugh, and it
Huh?
just drives you
Is it
crazy.
anything like the dancing one?
No,
I don't
No.
know.
no, that's from bad wheat.
So you're saying about let me make a little quick little joke. So I have let me make some bread out of some bad wheat with some people inside. I'm kind of fucked, aren't I?
Do it. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
They didn't actually believe they were fucked, even for doing that. They didn't believe in that concept of.
No, I don't mean like I'm fucked into having like I'm gonna get sick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so like I have a people sandwich with bad wheat.
yeah. If you eat
I'm gonna,
like,
I'm gonna
You're
dance
gonna
and
be
go
laughing and
crazy.
You're gonna have a good time.
I'm
What are
gonna
you
pog
talking
while
about?
dancing though. I'm
Traffic.
like I'm gonna fucking rave.
is the bad wheat? Is that ergot? Is that the
Yes.
bad wheat? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember if that was the blue corn or the bad wheat. Because there's a mold that grows on corn that also does
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But that, I mean,
Yeah.
again, they didn't. We look at it and we look at it through our eyes, which are
somewhat civilized.
Even beyond that, if you look at it, even if you're atheist or you don't believe in God or whatever, you still have an understanding of what the Christian, the Abrahamic religions think of things. Like no matter what you do, that's always part of your life. Mm-hmm. So we look at it and we're like, oh, you're probably going to hell for that. Mm-hmm. They never had that thought. There was never a hell for them. They're like, okay, he's dead.
I did what I had to do to survive.
Tomorrow
here.
I'm going to go hunting.
Yeah.
The end. Like
it might be people, it might be sheep or deer.
And again, we don't even know if it was that sort of scenario or if it was punishment for something
or if it was like a festivity.
Yeah, we just have no idea.
We're going to celebrate Christmas.
We know
with a Chris steak.
The amount of people the Anasazi killed is way less than they were killing in Mexico. So we doubt it was as religious and more. You probably screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all discovered where the vor kink comes from.
Yeah, if we had to kill you, if it's corporal punishment, it's corporal punishment.
Yeah,
we may as well eat you and survive.
Corporal punishment is when you hit somebody. Capital punishment is the death penalty.
Yeah.
Well,
assaulting.
Some was
Back
like
in the day, would they have called it capital punishment?
I mean, it would be capital punishment for us.
Becky, maybe some was like being spanked and punished. Okay, don't
I
give
mean, you
I mean,
can cane me.
it's a
I
rub.
wouldn't mind.
I don't know how I feel about caning. I feel like it'll leave weird marks.
Yeah, those are
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
those are called scars.
Yeah, I know. It's just flat-handed. Just flat-handed or paddle. Like I want like handprints. Like come on.
Boy.
Bobby doesn't want it to actually hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. I mean, I want to. I'm trying to feel something, right? I'm trying to feel something.
But it is interesting to go through these weird paths. Like it's like a thought game where you try to imagine like there is no. And again, I was raised up in a Baptist household, but there is no heaven or hell. There is a other place that you go, and sometimes you come back, and sometimes you just stay over there. Okay, but there's no fear in that. There's no scared of the fear of the things you do that lead to you going to a bad place. If you do bad things might happen to you, but then you're in the other place. Yeah. And it wasn't, and they never thought it was good or bad. It was just different, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a cool thought experiment.
That's kind of what I believe.
Yeah. I'm too busy to care about the afterlife. Listen, I'm dealing with the shit now. Whatever happens in 50 years, whatever.
I did a shit ton of mushrooms, so I don't fear death.
I did DMT.
It kind of fixed it. Like it really did fix that fear for me. Like I know it's going to come, and okay.
I got married. It was nice. I want to do that.
Okay, I have a different afterlife. I know we were talking about the different ones, but I was thinking about it, and even in Christianity itself, you have different versions of the afterlife.
Yeah.
You have different hells, different heavens, but you also have a purgatory, which Catholics believe in, where you can be prayed out, and you can be prayed out of hell.
You can pray the gay away.
Maybe.
No, it was a joke. I'm sorry. That was probably
when I was 16,
bad joke.
There was this woman in this Church of God church. I've told you about her. She's hot. It's annoying. I can't say her name because she, it may get back to, I don't know how, but it might. Her name was Kim. Anyways.
I love it.
She was in her 20s and I was 16. She had a loser husband. And she was determined that, she would help me while she was, trying to get her husband help. Anyways, she stayed at the big white house that has the rooms for rent. And so I spent the night with her one night, and she wanted me to pray with her. And she's like beautiful red hair. She was in a white short nightgown, kneeling on the floor, and we were praying for my soul. And I'm thinking, this isn't helping because you're not wearing a bra, and you're kneeling on the floor in front of me with your gorgeous red hair. And I'm like, yes, you should keep praying. Yeah, praying the gay away doesn't. I don't know how we got here, but that was a Jesus experience for me. I don't know if it was for her, but it confirmed for me that day that you know what I think I really like girls.
Would you say you were coming for Jesus?
Hell yeah,
coming towards Jesus.
I did after she left.
Hey yo.
Anyways,
Chris, it's fine.
But yeah, she was very. It gave me a weird kink. Anyways, I don't know how we got here. But yeah.
I kept wondering why Becky would show up with like a nun's habit just in the back of her car.
Don't talk about my things.
But no, like Andrew said, even in Christianity, there are weird ideas of the afterlife. Like if you go biblically, people have this idea that when you die, you go to, St. Peter and you get judged or whatever. The Bible doesn't say that at all.
No.
You wait for the day of
like the
judgment.
Jehovah Witnesses believe.
You're just basically dead until
Yeah,
the,
they're
the day
categorized
comes.
under Christianity, Jehovah Witnesses, and like, okay, my mom when she died was a Jehovah Witness, but being in a family of pastors and stuff, there was a little bit of everything, just like at my dad's. We had 3 different preachers. It was very long, and Becky's like, "Is this ever going to be over?"
And even with Jehovah's Witnesses, I think they believe that, so they believe that the 144,000 will be taken into
That's
heaven
it,
after the rapture.
144,000.
Oh, we're fucked.
it's,
And those are the descendants of the first
it's
tribes.
the 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Then what's the fucking point?
But so biblically, it does say that initially there will be 144,000. Then the battle happens. Then everyone else goes.
Right. There's
If you go
1,000
one way or
years
the
of
other.
peace on earth,
Yep.
and then the devil's released to make sure that you're good enough.
Yep.
And at that point, but you'll live on paradise on earth.
So,
But you
God.
stay in your grave, trapped in your body until the last trumpet sounds,
Yeah.
and everybody rises to be judged.
So, question: if I choose not to participate in the battle and just like chill, do I go to hell?
That's happened in Dogma.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, the non.
Azrael was he was
Oh, that's also a Kevin Smith movie too. So who knows?
But no,
yeah,
like-
it's a good movie though. Really good movie.
and even then, like you say, what's the point? That's kind of how I feel about it. There are more than 144,000 Jehovah's Witnesses out there.
Yeah.
Some of you
Yeah.
ain't making the cut.
Which on the flip side, you are trying to like proselytize people into becoming Jehovah's Witnesses. So you're just
Right.
basically multi-level marketing yourself into having
It's true.
way too
And
many
in
people.
the Kingdom Hall, you know how most churches take communion, and everybody goes up and you take communion as a way
Yeah.
of saying, "I'm saved and I'm with Jesus. I'm taking His body and blood into me." Well, in the Kingdom Hall, you can only take communion if you're one of the 144,000. So if anybody in your Kingdom Hall takes it, you're just like, holy shit.
Oh, I would do it to fuck with them. I would
Holy
do it
shit.
in a heartbeat to fuck
remember
with
this-
everybody.
They would have to fight me off to stop me from taking it.
I would do it. to
Yeah,
fuck
I'm
with
just
them.
like,
It'd be fun.
It's like Thor's hammer.
The
You're the
elders-
worthy
Guy
one to
here.
lift it.
The elders would have to jump in the way.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And again, say one of my buddies, I think they're Primitive Baptist, and they believe that they don't believe in just the 144,000. They have that part, but they also believe that everything you ever do or will do has,
Already been decided.
well, that and it doesn't. Your acts on earth don't get you into heaven, so it doesn't really. It always screwed me. So I'm like, so it doesn't really matter what I do here, one way or the other. So I can just do whatever the hell I want all the
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
if my name is written in the book to get in, no matter what I do, I still get in.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good list to be on.
Yeah, it's like I'm predetermined and I got a free ride.
I mean, they do
Okay.
believe in predetermination, which is
Yeah.
for me, it's a hard concept because I do believe that if there is an afterlife and there is a judge at the end of it, if this is all there is, your acts here have to be the guiding factor. It can't be anything else because there is nothing else.
Fair.
Yeah.
So that idea is always screwed with my brain. And again, I look at the Almighty or whatever spirit or Yahweh or whatever you want to call him. I can never understand the infinite. Like my brain is too small to comprehend that. So
You
understanding
said that before.
yeah,
Yeah.
understanding the nature of an infinite being is impossible. So I just do the best I can.
The trick is you keep yourself so busy you don't think about it.
Well, that's not how my brain works.
Oh, that's how my brain works.
My brain is always I have 19 different ideas all at once.
So
I just accepted that I'm part of the infinite and that when I die, I'll go back to it.
that is kind of my view on I think the idea of the Christianity as a whole is that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, but I think if you believe in that, then we are all part of him.
Yeah.
The big H him. And that's it. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna go back
We're
one
just all,
day.
yeah.
The end.
I'm not afraid of dying. I don't want to die badly. But what I don't want is like, I would hate to die in the next 5 minutes and leave Becky. I'm selfish.
yeah.
Oh,
Or also-
I've said that before. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't. That would be something.
That would be like Bob Saget and go right in my sleep.
I told my wife
Yeah.
I would show up and haunt the shit out of her if I
Oh,
Well,
died.
yeah, I fully
Yeah.
intend.
You think you're getting another night's sleep? Not on my watch,
Oh,
goddammit.
I
Oh,
guarantee
you're going to get another dude?
you're
No.
gonna helicopter your dick in front of the bed every night.
Flop, 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 flop.
What about honorable mentions?
Honorable mention.
Hashtag speed round,
and
go.
or where you would want to go. Like if you had a choice in a religion.
Depends.
Heaven.
Well, no.
Well, no. Like, pick a religious, like how I guess heaven is one.
Heaven.
Well, it also depends. Like, if it's like the if heaven's like the Christian. Well, some of the Christian definitions where you're just worshiping God the whole time. Put me in hell. Fuck that shit. I'm not worshiping a visible man in the sky I haven't seen in ever.
I'll take heaven versus annihilation. Thank you. If those are the options, please give me heaven.
I mean, other religions have like their own. Like,
is it really
Norse,
heaven though?
Norse
really
religions have Valhalla or Volkswanger. If you're a woman,
that sounds fun though. You just fight, you eat, drink, fuck, fight, and then start all over again.
That's
yeah,
where
I'd like to go. I mean, literally, you die in battle. If you die in battle honorably, and you're not like a adulterer or corrupter,
I will thumb wrestle the shit out of you as I'm dying, so I can.
But did
I was fighting when I died.
But here's the thing: did you know that there's two versions? There's Valhalla, and then there's Volkswanger, which the Volkswanger is for the women.
Yeah, I know. I want to go to Volkswanger. That's what I'm talking about.
You go with Freya.
Hey,
That's
Freya,
the
you sexy
ladies.
bitch.
The other one's for Odin, which is a bunch of dudes with helicopter
also
penises.
there's two stories that where Valkyries kill you or they take your dying soul. I much prefer that they just take you when you fall in battle instead of they're like, you know what, you're a great warrior.
Yeah.
Death to you.
Yeah. But in Greek mythology, they have like the fields of Elysium.
Which also is very nice. I
Yeah.
would much prefer those.
Which is, you think about it. Here's the thing. I'm going to point this out. A lot of religions also have a purgatory story. Like, Greek mythology has...
Wow, Chris, tell me you really fucking feel.
Yeah. The fields of Asphodel, which...
Fuck you and your spanakopita.
Literally, like, there's 3 places you can go. Elysium, Tartarus, which is for, like, the bad people. And then there's Asphodel, which is, like, the people who are indecisive about their life choices.
And there's also Illusia.
Yeah.
I learned that from Xena.
Well, there you go. But I
don't know
think,
if it's real.
here's the thing. Do I want to be in like a place like heaven where it's just angelic choirs singing with freaky eyeballs spinning, talking about God?
So here's the thing. I don't think you ever get that close to God. Heaven is described in the Bible as like a great city with 7 rings, just like the 7 rings of hell or whatever. I think as human beings, we're on the outer rings. So I don't think we ever get that close to the spinning wheel, eyeballed nightmares. Or the 4-headed beasts that are also up there. I don't think we get that close to them, even in the Bible stories. I think we're more on the outside where everything is just good. Like, no pain, no work, you just kind of hang out with your loved ones and bask in the glory that is, versus having to, even the differentiating in the angels, there are the ones that have to say holy, 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 versus the ones that do work, who love God and praise Him, versus nonstop, you're great, you're great, you're great,
Yeah.
you're great, you're great. Like, I feel like in the Christian version of heaven, even if you're human, you don't have to do that. So I think people have this weird misconception with that, where like, all you're doing is praising Him all the time. I think your existence there and acceptance would count as love and praise. The end.
I just don't want to. Yeah, it sounds boring.
You know, and some people believe that this is the reward. Being able to be here in the flesh.
Yeah.
This is heaven.
Yeah.
And some religions believe this is actually hell.
So that's one of the things that I've heard about Christianity that I really enjoy, that if everything goes well, this is as bad as it'll ever be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm on board.
I think the only thing that I would have like a hang up about is if the Rainbow Bridge was a Christian thing that you had to have. But if you're in like any of your own heaven, like the Field of Hosts or Elysium, you should have your animals with you. I just want to be able to see my puppers again.
That's fair.
That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah, fuck that. Speaking of which, we're talking about this. Bobby used to get in trouble in Sunday school a lot growing up.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, fuck you. I acted out. It happens. Anywho, I love you. I'm not being mean. I'm sorry. Don't give me that look. I feel sad.
What are you talking about?
Sorry. Anywho, so Sunday school. Yeah, we're talking about like heaven and stuff, and I'm like, "Kids, my dog Scotty go to heaven?" And they're like, "No, dogs don't have souls." Yo, fucking
Whoa!
yeah. Second grade.
So here's the thing.
And I was like, "No, I want Scotty."
I think they have souls. I don't think that's part of it. I have this idea that even if you are a Christian, and I got into this with a pastor one time when I asked him some questions, and they said no, that I think it was about dinosaurs, and he's like, dinosaurs don't exist because they're not in the Bible.
Yeah,
I'm like, cool.
The devil put the bones here to test us.
Neither are microwaves. Do they not exist? So here's the thing. I think a strict interpretation of the Bible, I think it's wrong. That's just my opinion. You don't have to listen to me. I think it was a good guide, and it's a bunch of...
It's like most religions.
fables and ideas of here's how you be a better person, probably do these things.
That's what my big thing is. Like, this is where I get into fights with people, is when we say the Christian mythology, it's not, the mythology aspect of it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fake fable, whatever it is.
No.
It means that it's a set of stories that tell about a divine something.
Yeah, kind of like Aesop's fables.
Yeah, exactly. So Greek mythology, a lot of people still believe in Greek mythology and are polytheistic. At the end of the day, they still consider it Greek mythology because it is stories of the divine.
And again, if you're trying to read the Bible to understand the nature of God, I think that's impossible.
Right.
Again, I don't think you can understand.
Right, it's told from a human perspective.
Yeah.
Well, you can't understand a divine.
And at the same time, you think about it, like, you have religions that are just oral traditions, like the Native Americans have oral traditions. There is no written word, but yet somehow they had some sort of guideline in which they followed to either. I mean, they didn't really reach a heaven. I get that, but they had a guideline.
That made it, and here's the thing: that may have been their idea of heaven, is getting to go to the next whatever.
Yeah.
No fear, no horror, no weird guilt of the things you've done. That's got to be kind of freeing. I'm not gonna lie. But to get back to the point, like Bobby's thing where she said dogs don't have souls, probably said that because it's not in the Bible. But a lot of things aren't in the Bible that exist. So who cares what she thinks?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I did get it. This is hilariously enough. I did get into a debate with my mother when I think I talked about this with the James Webb Space Telescope, and she was like,
No.
"Did I not tell you this? We were talking about the James Webb Space Telescope."
You told Becky her mom was dumb. I heard it on the last edit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So basically, it's the same thing. It's like the Earth can't be that, you have to, there has to be at some point, you have to question religion regardless. Because at the end of the day, you're either going to say that a God or whatever created multiple universes throughout.
And why are you afraid to question something and prove it?
In which there are probably other lives out there that don't necessarily have a belief in it.
Yeah.
We don't know what they could believe.
Yeah.
They could believe that the microwave is literally a
devil.
powerful deity.
Yeah.
Or, we can confine ourselves to the idea that it's okay to have a religion, to be a Christian, because at the end, or any religion, because at the day, it's just guidelines on how to be a good person.
That's my thing. I have a belief in God. I do. It may not be the God everyone believes in. It may not be the same one you think about. But my God, the reason I believe in God is because I believe in the Big Bang. I believe in science.
Yeah.
I believe in God because of 1 second before the Big Bang. Existed 1 second before that. I'm not saying he didn't put all this into motion using quantum physics and quantum mechanics. I don't know, and I'll never know. But if time exists, time exists. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just a wave that is viewable through whatever the way we perceive it, it still exists, and it had to exist before the Big Bang. Yep.
Right, and quantum physics has proven that there was a thought behind the creation.
I mean, that's the part for me. Like there has to be. And again, it may just be me reaching with my infantile human brain.
Trying to understand something.
But 1 second before the Big Bang.
Yeah.
What is there? Before this nothingness explodes into all the matter that exists in this universe and all the multiverses that may exist. What was there 1 second before?
And I've said this before, like I think you mentioned it too, that you're not scared of death, because I've said this to Angie multiple times. We are so like infinitesimal, like we are a moment in everything, not even a moment, a nanosecond of what is happening out there in the universe. We literally are a blip. We are inconsequential, most of us. So at the end of the day, there's some comfort in that. Like, what happens around me is kind of effective and can affect my life, but in the scheme of things, that's it.
If all of human existence that we know about, so about 160,000 years, was a 200-page book, the last 200 years would be the last, basically 2 words of that book.
Yeah.
We're less than a moment cosmically. We're not even a moment. We are non-existent, and none of the things we do matter in the grand scheme of things.
We happen faster than our cells divide in our body.
Yeah, it doesn't. None of it matters. It's
like, think about it. Do you imagine what your cells are doing right now and care? No. Meanwhile, the cell's lifespan is probably our lifespan.
Yeah.
But it's so quick, just like that.
But we have self-awareness. We have this weird desire to be the center of everything and to make our lives matter, when in 10,000 years, the most important human who's ever lived, if you believe in people or whatever, like Constantine. No one gives a shit.
Yeah, they're probably, and here's the thing: we may not know about these prolific people that lived because there's no written word.
Absolutely.
For us to know about it.
Well, you look at like Göbekli Tepe, these huge civilizations that sprung up sometime around 11,000 years ago, which is about 6,000 years older than they thought it was possible to have megalithic structure. We have no idea what human history is. We don't know if we're cyclical. We don't know if some great catastrophe happened that wrecked us. If it wasn't written down, and even if it was, and it's been lost to time through the burning of the Library of Alexandria, through the Lesser Dryas, which basically covered everything in ice, through any number of great extinctions or ice ages, we don't know. And all that may be gone. I mean, you look at the story of Atlantis, which Plato wrote about 6,000 years after it happened. Like, okay, so there was this great city that had flying vehicles and huge, immense technology, and then it got swallowed up by the earth. Maybe it was, they said it was for their inability to live like regular people, basically. Maybe it was just a natural disaster. Maybe this isn't the first go-around for all of us. Maybe this is humanity's 20th cycle through exactly what we're doing. Maybe we're limited by the materials we have on this planet, and we can only go one certain way.
That is what the Illuminati exists to do, is destroy civilizations so the next greater one can be built.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our human life cycle.
And I don't believe this is our first go at this. This, even with computers and technology and phones, I think we are limited by, really our materials.
Yeah. Listen, they've always said that if something ever happens, like a nuclear disaster or anything to that extent, within 200 years, the Earth will be taken back over.
If everybody dies.
So,
there's
at some point, whatever it is going to have to learn how to grow technology ever again.
So it doesn't even have to be nuclear. It can be a huge EMP, like a solar flare.
Yeah.
And all electronics go out.
Super volcano.
How many generations after all that goes out
One.
would it take you to rebuild a cell phone?
Oh, rebuild. I thought we were just to reset. I'm like,
No, to rebuild a cell phone.
5, 6.
7,
Oh my
8,
God.
9.
Yeah.
The first thing that becomes important is food.
Survival.
Right. And,
Food.
And the time frame exists on how easy is it to find food.
Yep.
And then you can escalate and evolve. But yeah.
Well, it becomes
if
like,
you run into another drought or famine, you're back.
do you live somewhere where you can grow food year round?
Yeah.
If you live in extreme climates, probably not. Do you live somewhere where you have to follow your food to eat it? Do you become nomadic because you have to out of necessity?
Well, and if you can stay in place, is there something that's a better predator than you without your weapons?
Absolutely.
Probably so.
Well, even then, I think even with the way we're built and the way we are basically ambidextrous to a degree, spears are almost enough most of the time. There aren't too many super predators here that are going to screw with us. Black bear, where we're at, is kind of it, which we can mess up. But if you live somewhere where they have brown bear, you're probably screwed.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to be on the woods with a brown bear.
Oh, God.
Well, I was
Grizzly
going to say,
bears, you're done.
well, and think about it. If you lose all existence of humanity and humanity grows again, the only thing, because religion will always somehow go. Something will exist.
People have to believe in
Something has to believe. So it could be literally that I don't know, Twilight book exists, and they think that this is
This was
a mythology of our life or an ancient civilization that exists there.
They used to sparkle.
So
Yeah,
there's
vampires existed.
There's actually a joke. There's a thing about that took scientists about 200 years to figure out. So the ancient Romans had the Roman roads or whatever.
Yeah.
And they couldn't figure out how they made the Greek concrete so strong, even though they had the written down recipe. And every time they tried it, it wouldn't work as well. And they couldn't figure it out until one of them finally figured out that, when it says water, they were using seawater.
Salt water.
Which was just what they would have used at the time
Yeah.
because it was abundant and free. Mm-hmm. So when they mixed instead of using just distilled water, they were using seawater, the concrete became harder, and it worked. Mm-hmm. So even though it was written down,
It's where you interpret it where you are at that
culture.
time.
So it'd be like the idea was in 500 years, if somebody reads your grandma's recipe, and it says her cake calls for 3 eggs, we don't write 3 chicken eggs. We just know it's chicken eggs.
Yeah.
They might think, are they using 3 dinosaur eggs, 3 lizard eggs, 3 snake eggs? What kind of eggs were these? But we take for granted what we write down and what we understand and take just as a course of our everyday thing. Like, if I'm reading a recipe and it calls for 2 eggs, I know what eggs are.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody uses. It's chicken eggs. It's not quail eggs. It's not ostrich eggs. It's just straight chicken eggs. So we're viewing these things that were written thousands of years ago through our eyes that exist today. And have been molded by everything we are and everything we've existed through. They wrote it based on what they saw.
Yep.
So we are probably interpreting it way, way wrong.
This is... I hope we sent everybody into an existential crisis today. That's really what this episode was
I
about.
wake up with those. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think there should be a crisis.
Existential thought.
Yeah, just
Contemplate.
take a minute.
Think
about
minute.
your place in the universe.
Yeah,
Like how you don't
it's
matter at all.
probably not important. Like Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan has some of my favorite quotes, but if you ever look, they always talk about the us versus them. But then it's a cartoon that people have done now, and it's like us versus them, and then it's like zooms out, and it's just literally the tiniest little planet, and it's just us yelling at each other, and it's like, what we're doing here does not matter in the scheme of things.
So we get so hung up and we get stressed out, and there's so many kids that are a little bit younger than me that have so many anxiety disorders, and it's just a thing. And the way I look at it is, look at the sloth. The sloth don't do fuck all day long. He still hasn't gone extinct.
Yep.
Take a fucking nap and take 10 minutes and think about it, bro. You'll be fine.
Everything is relative.
Yep. We exist until we don't, and then we don't. And that's why I don't worry about.
This night which says we were here.
Yep. I'm telling you, the greatest show on earth. It is literally the song about the creation of Earth and our existence when it goes out. Think it's a great song? Go listen to it. I'm just saying.
Wholesome.
Good.
You know what's also relevant?
Okay, I know you have to pee.
I'm sorry. I just had to fucking piss. I'm sorry.
You can find us on all the places
Sorry.
that we have been on before.
Doesn't fucking matter, Bobby.
I'll pee on the floor. It will to them.
Spotify.
All the places.
Apple Music.
I did
Pornhub.
notice most of our downloads are coming from Spotify lately.
iTunes.
Yeah. And YouTube.
Porn.
Surprisingly,
Yeah.
we have a lot of YouTube. All right, goodbye.
Take stream VODs. And
Love
put it
y'all.
on.
Oh, yeah.